Which one of your employees do you think is creating the most problems for your company, keeping you back, keeping you from being as successful as you possibly could be? Hi, I'm Randy Kirk, and that's the subject of today's Small Business Daily. So, have you been thinking about that question for a couple of minutes? Do you have somebody in mind? Have you picked out that employee which is reducing your effectiveness, who is getting in the way of progress, the one that is causing the most problems in terms of your success? Yeah, in my experience, that's usually you. That's usually me. It's usually the owner. That's the individual who is most responsible for holding the company back. Now, let's face it, the owner is probably also the person that's most responsible for the opportunities that the company has in the first place, for the products, for the services, for the energy, for the vision. You're providing that as well, but at the same time, you're probably the one that's holding the company back the very most. A few years ago, I decided to write, well, it's not a book yet. It's maybe a third of a book. It wouldn't even make a decent ebook at this point. But I decided to write down the hard things that owners are least likely to want to do, okay? And let's face it, everybody's got hard things. I don't care whether you're an employee, you're an owner, whatever you're doing in life, there are certain things you don't want to do. As a salesman, I don't want to fill out paperwork, okay? Almost no salesman wants to fill out paperwork. They want to do the selling, they want to get the order, they want the thrill of the victory, but they don't want to have to sit down afterwards and handle all that filling out of papers and setting up credit and all the rest of the things that may have to be done after the sale. That's a hard thing. So there are many hard things, and for different people, different things are hard. Let's talk about the ones that I see as being the most likely to mess up your chances of success. So let's start with number one. Number one, believe it or not, is marketing. Okay? Most business owners that I've met over the last, over my entire career, because I've been writing about business for over 35 years and have been writing books about business for over 35 years. Most of the people that I've met over my lifetime of talking to small business owners don't really even understand what marketing is, have no actual interest in learning about marketing, and in fact get confused with what the word marketing is, and they think it means advertising. But marketing is a much broader subject matter than advertising, and most business owners have not studied. They haven't taken marketing classes. They haven't read books on marketing. They're not interested in learning more about marketing. So let's spend a minute talking about it, and then I'll do another video later in detail about marketing. But let's talk about just the rough draft here. So marketing is everything about your company, from the vision and the mission statement to the design of the org chart, to the products that you buy, the services that you offer, the cost of getting those products created or developed, the cost of the services, the way that you market them, the way you package them, the way you sell them, who sells them. It's everything. Marketing basically is the company. And so if you haven't sat down at some point and thought through the marketing structure of what you do, then you're going to be missing dozens and dozens and dozens of possible opportunities. I'm going to give you a quick story that'll just give you an example. So I started in business. The very first real job that I had in the business world was as a vice president of a company that was importing padlocks from Germany. Those padlocks were being sold to locksmiths and hardware stores and to a few scattered other businesses. It didn't take me long after starting there to apply my marketing strategy to this company and to realize that there was at least 20 different distribution channels that those padlocks could be sold in. And they could be sold for vending machine security. They could be sold for mini storage warehouses. They can be sold in drugstores, in grocery stores, in mass marketers like Target and Kmart. So there was 20 different, the US Army was huge for us, and General Services Administration. So there was lots of other places that those padlocks could be sold. And by virtue of going out and seeking those other avenues, then it was possible to dramatically expand the business without having to change anything else except sell more avenues. But in each of those avenues, there was marketing to be done. So in each avenue, there was a trade show or a trade magazine or a website. There were a trade association. There were ways of doing business. Did they sell direct from manufacturer to retail? Did they use a wholesaler in between? Did they use a mass distribution center that sold to the wholesaler? So sometimes there's 5 levels. There was pricing differences. Sometimes there was 40% off to the retailer from the retail sale price down to the retailer price, the dealer price. Sometimes there was 50% off. Sometimes it was 35% off. So finding out what the industry expectations were. Turns out there was even differences in the colors of the paper that were used for the price lists. So every industry has their methodology. And so when you go into a new industry, you have to find those things out. We started also selling into the mass market. So we needed blister cards. We needed to put the padlocks on a card. Well, the Germans were making them in black and I think it was gold, and they were as ugly as they could possibly be for the US market. So that was marketing. We had to change the packaging and have them package it differently before it was shipped to us, or it was never going to sell through in a Target or a Kmart. So marketing is that entire array. Oh, lest I forget, you're going to a new market, you need salespeople for that market. Are you going to do that internally? Are you going to use reps? Are you going to hire reps to go into that market? Is one of your reps that's already calling on some other industries going to call on that industry as well? That's part of the marketing. All of that is included in this broad idea of marketing, and most small businesses don't want to become experts at marketing. So that's one example of letting a hard thing get in the way of the company expanding as much as it possibly could. I'll take about 1 minute to do my second one, which is if you've watched my videos, or you can go back and look at old videos, and that is most owners don't want to sell. They actually don't want to sell. They're not salespeople. They've never learned how to sell. They've never read a book on selling. I'm saying most, many of you probably have, but even if they've read a book and they've gone to a seminar, they don't like selling, and so they don't want to sell. So that could be something that stands in the way of success, because you're going to do everything else on your list today before you pick up the phone and make a sales call or get in your car and go out and make a call. So that's another hard thing that gets in the way. A very closely related one is sales management. I have definitely in my mind that someday I want to write a book on sales management, because there are almost no books written about sales management. What companies commonly do is they take their top salesman and they turn them into a sales manager with the idea that they can train the other salespersons to be as good as that person. Okay, but that's generally not a very good idea. The old saw is you take your top salesperson, make them a sales manager. You probably get a lousy sales manager and you've just lost your best salesperson. It's a different skill set to be a sales manager. So once again, the owner of the business needs to know what a sales manager does. He needs to know how you would hire a sales manager, or what you as an owner would do while you're in the role, while you're wearing the hat of a sales manager. The sales manager's job is to make sure that people are looking at, their existing customer list and making sure that those customers are getting good quality service. Another part of the job is to look at the territory and see where there are holes in the territory that can be filled. Part of the sales manager's job is to make sure that those salespeople are getting up on Monday morning and getting out and doing what they're supposed to do. Part of the job is to make sure that they're up to date on the products and up to date on the services and up to date on pricing and up to date on the mission and the vision of the company. Part of the job is to analyze the system that's being used to pay them. Is it heavily involved in commission, or is it more commission and partly some kind of guarantee? This is all the sales manager's job. You notice how little of it has to do with being a great salesman? So that's another hard job that many companies don't want to get involved in. Maybe they don't even know they should learn how to be a great sales manager as the owner, and or when they hire a sales manager, They don't know that there's a specific set of qualifications, experience, skill sets that sales manager should have in order to be really good at the job. So there's 3 quick examples of things that people don't want to do. Now we'll talk about one that I have written a book about. The next thing that most owners don't want to do is they don't want to learn about accounting. They don't want to learn about anything, any aspect of bookkeeping, much less accounting, which is the business of taking the bookkeeping and turning it into ledgers and in a form that it can be read and reports can be created. Then they don't want to learn how to read the reports that are generated or determine what kind of reports they'd like to see in order to be better at their job. A perfect example is the sales manager. The sales manager should be getting sales manager reports so that he can see how the salespeople are doing. He can see how the products are doing. He can see how the customers are doing. He can find out who's the biggest customers and the smallest customers, who's up, who's down, which products are up, which products are down, which salesmen are up, which all of that's available in the reporting. But if the accounting isn't being done, then the reporting is going to be either lousy or non-existent. And so the owner is not looking at those sales management reports in order to make great decisions about how to go forward. That's just on the sales management side. Then there comes to the P&L side, and that's where the book, Making Money Out of Thin Air, got its origin, because Shayla Chamberlain and I both realized that most small businesses they don't know how to read their P&L. In fact, the bookkeeper that they have creating their books probably isn't even doing a good job of formatting the profit and loss statement that they are creating, because they're creating all of the formatting and the things that they're doing for tax purposes, not to help you become more profitable. So I assume you want to be more profitable. If you want to be more profitable, you need to learn to read your P&L. You need to see all the opportunities in the P&L that can make you more money that you can take home to your family. So this list goes on and on. By the way, I think I ended up with 32 different things that most small business owners don't want to do. Small business owners want to do their craft. They want to do their skill set. They want to do, maybe they like people, and so they're people managers. But guess what? A whole bunch of small business people really don't want to manage people. So that becomes another one. How do I manage my people? How do I motivate them? How do I pay them? How do I make decisions about how to encourage them? Because today, as I'm doing this, we already have extremely low unemployment coming out of COVID, and that unemployment is going to get better and better in terms of what the country needs to be prosperous. But it's going to get worse and worse for you in terms of hiring or finding and hiring new employees and holding on to the ones you have, because your competitors and even people that are not competing with you, they're just competing for your people. They're going to be offering them more money and more benefits and more of the things that keep them happy and excited to be working for you. And so we've done on freebusinesshelpnow.com, there are a number of articles that talk about how to motivate, how to retain employees. If you're not reading articles and books and listening to seminars and webinars and YouTube videos and stuff about how to retain your employees and how to find great new employees, it's another hard thing. It takes some work, but this is the kind of work you need to be doing, especially in the situation where we're going into now. Part of that piece that I just talked about is where and how to find them. Recruiting is just one segment of all of that we just talked about. Have you done any studies on recruiting? Have you done any studies on methodologies for finding employees that are a little off the beaten path? We all know we can put it up on Indeed. We all know that we can go down to the local junior college and get on a list. But there's lots of ways to do recruiting that might be a little counterintuitive and a little bit outside the box that might get you more opportunities to recruit, as well as might get you better people. When you're deciding who to hire, do you have a methodology? Do you have a system in place for what kind of forms they're going to fill out in terms of their application? Do you have a system for how you're going to interview them? Do you have a system for the questions you're going to ask? And do you know what kind of questions to ask? Those things are all available. I've read the articles on online. I've watched the YouTube videos. They're out there for you to see. We're going to try to continue to provide this kind of content on freebusinesshelpnow.com and on Small Business Daily, but it's out there now. You don't have to wait. There's tons of information out there. So what hard thing don't you like to do? Write it down in the comments. I'll do a YouTube video on it. Come on, help me out down in the comments. What hard things, maybe it was one of the ones we just talked about and you'd like to hear more. Go ahead, put that down in the comments. Or maybe I didn't get to it yet out of my list of 32. And it's like, that's the one that's on your mind right now. You're going, oh yeah, well, I don't mind those other things, but oh yeah, I hate this. Well, write that in the comments down below and I will not only respond to it, but potentially I can do another video that would cover that subject, either myself or if I don't know enough about it, I always bring in my experts. I'll bring in somebody to interview. So that's all I've got for you today. Is there are hard things out there that you're not doing that are standing in the way of your company becoming more successful. And if you liked this content today, please press like and then subscribe and then notify. And that way you can be notified when we put the next program up and what the subject matter is. So with all that said, this is Randy Kirk. You've been watching Small Business Daily. See you tomorrow.